And one other funny story that you'll appreciate about him
Please, please.
was there was this place called Amo's. It was an after-hours club. Amo was a bartender at Slugs, and when Slugs closed, he opened his club, and it was just active on Friday and Saturday nights. He opened about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
They would play there till noon, or around then. The sessions would be, he'd close the shades, the blinds, so it was constant night. And the audience was night people, bartenders, prostitutes, dope dealers, this was the kind and a lot of musicians. And I mean, you'd sit there and you'd see, Wynton Kelly, Cedar Walton, Bobby Timmons, and Harold Mayburn, and whoever else was around. Those were just the piano players, and one night might fall by.
Wow.
And you see Clifford Jordan and George Coleman and Charles Davis, and Charles took me around. That's why I met Charles, and I know you've had some experience with Charles too.
Definitely.
I had an erratic relationship with him. We would argue with each other and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, he liked to argue.
He liked arguing. It was like.
Yeah. But that was his. I love that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, this is just to make this story a little shorter. There was KD, and I didn't know how great he was then. I'd known Ira Sullivan. I was 17 years old, and I knew he was real good, and I knew him from the Sonny record, from the Max and a little bit of those things. But right. I still bought the general feeling that he hadn't managed to really replace Clifford, because I read Downbeat, and that's what Downbeat told me to think. And that changed.
Yeah.
That changed real quickly. You'd be amazed how many people are still under the sway of that type of what Artie.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. He's ignored by a lot of people, man.
Yeah, and a lot of wrong thinking is going on, about a lot of people. But anyway, what was funny was that he was there in a dashiki and one of those little African caps, with a very chiseled face. He actually looked like an African mask to me. He looked like one of those, beautiful masks, and very, very interesting face. He had deep set eyes. And anyway, we're there, and Evelyn said to me, I met her, she said, well, why don't you stay at my house, because you're coming back tomorrow night, and I got a couch, and you can just hang out at my house, and, you can practice in the daytime, and you don't have to go, to the people uptown you're staying with, stay down with me. We like that. So we're going to go to Evelyn's house, and we go outside, and KD says, well, I'll give you a ride, Evelyn, and so we go, and he says, well, this is it, and it's a checkered cab. And I go, damn, you are so hip, because the musicians were treating him like with reverence. You could see this guy.
Yeah.
Special, and man, he is so hip. I thought I've seen some hip shit in my life, but this guy, you've got a yellow cab, a checkered cab, as your personal car. I gotta say, this is the hippest thing I've ever seen. Wow. And he falls out, laughing, saying, no, man, no, baby, I drive this cab. It's part of what I do for a living. I'm going on a shift now. He said, I brought the car over. I spent an hour or two at the session. Now I'm going to take Evelyn home, and I'm going to drive an early morning shift.
Wow.
And, that's how you learn these things.
Yeah. Different world, man. Different world.
You're playing too. You're one of the few people that I really hear that influence used in your own, your own way, and really do appreciate that.
Well, one thing I heard about KD that stuck with me was that when he joined Charlie Parker's band, he knew all of Charlie Parker's solos up until that point that were recorded. He knew all of his music by heart.
I believe it.
And then I realized, so maybe if I just start checking out Bird and listening to Charlie Parker, I'll sound more like Kenny Dorham. You know what I mean? Because his sound, him and Blue Mitchell's sound, that's my love. I love those two sounds. So I don't think I could ever get away from that. Blue too, man. That's why I love Roy Hargrove, man. The first time I heard him, it was like listening to a Blue Mitchell record. It was so beautiful. And Yeah, KD. So, but then I realized Bird is the man. Like they start. That's where I needed to go. And
Yeah,
that happened after I moved to New York. Yeah.
that was so. Now you had a little bit of an experience at Berkeley,
Yeah,
and
one semester. Yeah, yeah. I quit my basketball. I ended my basketball career short, and that was a stupid thing to do because, anyways. But I went to Berkeley, and I studied with a guy named Louis Mucci, who was a studio guy from New York. I mean,
I know the
you
name.
might have ran into him when you were young. You never know. But he went up there in the '70s to start teaching. He's on a Miles record. He's on one of those Gil Evans records. He played with Gil Evans. He did a lot of studio stuff. Anyways, I went to his office once a week and we played duets out of the Gotti book. And other than that, I just went to the Huntington Street Y every night and played basketball against football players from Boston University. 6 o'clock, man. 6 o'clock games. I played from 6 to 8:30 every night, man. Brutal games. Very small court, so it was cool.
So this was a one semester. Was
One
it the summer
semester, and
program?
I wasted the whole semester. I quit my team. I went to Boston. I watched my father drive down Mass Ave. I said, "What the hell am I doing, man?" But I luckily I found the Huntington Y. It was 5-minute walk, and so I played ball. Man, really, literally, almost 5 nights a week up there. And I used to go up to Boston College too, because my friend who I played high school with at the time, Boston College still had a JV team, so he played on the JVs. So I used to go up there and play, and I used some pretty good ball players up there playing. It was good games.
Now, before you went to Boston, were you continuing you had that one experience with Sal Amico? Did you
No,
continue
this
seeing
is this
Sal?
is way before. This is way before. Yeah,
This is
this
way
is.
before
Oh,
Sal
this is
Amico.
when. Yeah, this is when I'm 9. I'm 20 years old when I went to Boston. It's 2 or 3 years before that.
And you were a trumpet player. I mean, were you thinking of trumpet or piano?
I got accepted as a trumpet player, which is blows my mind. But I did take lessons the last, like senior year in high school, first year in college. I did take lessons, and I don't know, man. I could play a certain way, even though I couldn't really I couldn't play lead or anything like that. So, I got in, I guess. They accept everybody. And I
But you
had
hadn't
good.
really listened. You weren't listening to jazz
No,
yet at all.
I started there. I used to go to the library and listen to Clifford Brown records. They had a nice library, and you could take out records. Basically, yeah, records, and you
Yeah.
played a record, and yeah, I listened to. That's where I started listening to Maynard Ferguson and Clifford Brown mostly.
Huh.
Yeah, but like I said, it was a waste of time, man, because I played ball every night. It was just
So you
I
didn't
never
really
wanted
hang
to.
with any of the other Berkeley students very
No,
much.
no. I'll tell you a story though. Every night when I used to go out the front door to go play, Smitty Smith 90% of the time was standing there with his drums stacked up, waiting for a ride. All his drums were stacked, and he's waiting there for a ride. And I recognized him later. Like I said, man, you're the guy that like used to be in the. I didn't say that to him, but that was him, Smitty. Yeah.
So now after your one semester at Berkeley, now
Oh, and
you had
I just say one more thing. One more thing about Berkeley, which was great. They had a security guy down by the elevators. I got to talking with him. Turns out he had season tickets to the Celtic games. So I went to 6 Celtic games. Larry Bird's freshman year, his rookie season. It was unbelievable.
oh,
It was unbelievable. I saw Dr. J play twice. I saw Moses Malone. I saw Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson play for Seattle. It was great. It was unbelievable.
well, I used to tell people, they'd say, "Who are your idols?" I'd say Bird and Bird.
Yeah, right. That's right. I got it right here, man. I got pictures side by side.
Well, I said, well, Larry Bird, because he was a white man who excelled at a black art,
That's
at a
right. He
predominantly
did.
black,
He did.
craft and art. Craft and art.
He did.
And that Bird, I grew up in Boston until I was 10, and I was a huge sports fan. I was a terrible athlete, no gift at all that way. And my father gave me a book about Lou Gehrig, which he was not a natural. He said I was not a natural. A guy like Babe Ruth was a natural. A guy like, but I went to Celtic games, and just to get into that, the team that I remembered was Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn, and the Casey and Sam Jones.
Sam Jones is right.
Yeah, Sam Jones and Casey Jones, and later on Tom Sanders joined, and
Thad Sanders.
Sad Sanders. Yeah. Anyway, I remember going to see them, and they were,
Don Nelson.
Red Auerbach was the coach, and that was a great team. I really,
when I was 14, 1974, the summer of 74, I went to Dalshay's basketball camp.
Oh, Dolph Shades, right? Yeah.
And I got to play in a 5-on-5 with Paul Silas.
Dolph Shades was a Knick, wasn't he?
No, he was a Syracuse Nat.
Syracuse Nat. Okay, I remember he was in New York.
He had retired. He's in his 40s now, or late 30s at this time.
Yeah.
And so he had a basketball camp, and he had the Celtics come up, a couple Celtics. So I got to play in a 5-on, and then I got to play JoJo White 1-on-1, because he played the whole camp 1-on-1. So we all lined up, like there was like 35 kids lined up.
Wow.
JoJo he'd stare you down, and the game was to 11, and he'd stare you down. And he'd go like, "All right, I'll give you 8 points." The next guy he'd say, "I give you 6 points." He looked at me, he goes, "I give you 9 points."
More than
of course, he beat me 11-9, of course, man. But I got to I got to bump on him a little bit. It was good. Yeah, it's good. Oh, and the one thing I'll remember, how strong he was, man. He was so strong, man. Oh my God. Paul Silas too. They're so strong. Actually, Dolph Shades too. I played against Dolph Shades when he was in his 50s, and he was still strong, man. Like really, built. This is such a special thing. Those guys.
Well,
let's talk about music, man. Sorry, I don't mean to I'm sorry.
Well, musical strength as well. There are, you're still going strong, and this is very good. And you became so now. Okay, you had the epiphany. You started listening to Clifford Brown. You went and you listened to that. So now you're starting to sit in with Nick Pignola, or he's coming to sit in with you.
Well, then I went to Fredonia State University and finished up my degree in liberal arts, and it was more like a whatever. I just studied social just subjects and got my degree. And at the time they had a student run big band, and I played fifth trumpet in that. And we started listening to a lot of big band music and stuff, and just music in general. I was starting to, my basketball career was over. I just played for fun, although I still played all the time. But I was getting into music, and I started to envision like what a life would be as a musician. And I knew that as soon as I got my degree, I was going to start practicing, and that's what I did. As soon as I graduated college, the next 2 days later, I took out the Arbenz book and I started shedding, and I called up an old teacher. I started taking lessons, and I practiced for about 3.5 years, every day.
So you stayed around Syracuse?
Yeah, for about 3.5, 4 years.
And you started to work some gigs then, and that's
it took about a year and a half.
Took
about a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. I had, I in that year and a half time, I met Sal and JR. So I started to get my stuff together a little bit more. He gave me some stuff to practice. I practiced it every day, and I learned. And I already knew a lot of songs because of my upbringing. From playing out of that book. I knew songs.
Right, and your dad knew Broadway tunes too, right?
Yeah, no, I knew a lot of Broadway tunes, man. Like If I Were a Bell, it could happen. I knew a lot of Broadway tunes, man, already, and already in my brain. So yeah, so I spent 3.5 years there, and
you're listening to Bird at this point too, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I knew Bird, and I knew what was happening, but I was more into I learned Quiet Kenny, I learned Showboat, I learned Blue Moods, I learned a bit of A Thing to Do, I learned some Sonny Rollins, I learned a bunch of records, as many records as I could, and I played with them every day, like just try to get the same shit going, mostly with KD and Blue Moods too. I used to play with that record almost every day. Just put the needle down and boom, hit. And it took a long time. You know, I did it for years. I did it for like 2 or 3 years. You know.
And you would copy the solos note for note
Oh,
without
played
writing.
note for note, note for
You
note.
never
Yeah.
write anything down, right? You would do it.
I wrote some stuff down, but not a lot.
Did you sing with records much?
Did I what?
Did you sing along
No,
first?
I should have. I should have, but I didn't. No.
Just
I do now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much.
Oh, I do
singing
now.
effect
Oh,
on
yeah.
that.
No, all the time. Yeah, of course.
And
I
so
wish I
then,
knew that then. I wish I knew that then. That's what I wish, you know.
yeah, I find it's a very good thing to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So then you that what got you into Bird was the fact that you'd heard about KD learning the Bird solos.
You know, I don't know, man. I think I was part of my early career was playing Ain't Misbehaving. I did it for about 37 weeks. And that's how I came to New York, playing Ain't Misbehaving. The road show had finished, and then the conductor had 10 weeks at the Darien Dinner Theater. So he called me in Syracuse and asked me if I wanted to do it. And I came down.
Connecticut, Darien, Connecticut, right?
Yeah, yeah. I never left. That was it. I came down. I never left. And so then I went on the road with them a few times. In the next couple summers, we went on some tours. And that's when on those tours, that's when I started getting a Bird, like 1991. To be honest, man, before I got into Bird, I got into Louis Armstrong. 1990 is when I found Louis for the first time. Like wow, blew my mind, you know. So I was into listening to him for like almost a year. Then I got into Bird after that, about 91. And I remember it was on the road. It was on the road when I was that summer on the road. Started smoking a lot of weed, and smoke a lot of weed, and just check, listen to shit, with my Walkman, Yeah.
Did you have
I tell you what,
it?
a nice story, man. Story, actually, about Bird. Well, I mean, not Bird, but when I played with Lionel Hampton, this guy Chris Albert, who was a great trumpet player. Did you ever play with Chris Albert?
I knew Chris Albert when we were 15 years old. We
Albert.
both went to Phil Woods' camp in New Hope, Pennsylvania, Rambler.
Trumpet player, man. Great.
Chris was there, and I've got a couple of Chris Albert stories too. He was Leroy Williams' brother-in-law.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was married to his sister Jill.
Ah, wow, I didn't know that. Wow. Cool.
Yeah, and
wow,
Chris was so handsome that it got him in trouble.
Oh, bro, I lived it, bro. I was with him, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I always felt, somebody said to me once, I told somebody, if I could look like anybody else for one day, I wouldn't look like Warren Beatty. I wouldn't look like Sidney Poitier. I would look like Chris Albert. Because he was a handsome, Harry Handsome. He was, he was involved with, I'm going to tell you, it's a.
No, I know him very well too. We were roommates.
How is he?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him.
Still on the planet? I worry about.
Yeah, he's on the planet. No, he's working. I think he works with the Duke Ellington band sometimes. He makes an appearance once in a while, but he's living up in Connecticut somewhere.
He was one of the first cats that I knew that studied with Barry Harris too.
Yeah, right.
He's very close to Barry.
Well, anyways, we're on the band. He gets on Lionel Hampton's band, and before that, it wasn't really like it was just basically me and Al Bryant. Like, yeah, and Al was a bad cat, but he played more traditional. So I was, it was me. So then Chris gets on the band, and the first time he goes up to the mic, I was blown away, man. I couldn't believe like how hip he played. Just hip. And I had heard Freddie and Woody many times in that period. I knew them both. I knew them, but I mean, I used to go hear him play, several times, so I knew what the sound was.
Yeah, Chris
had that same shit, man. He had that same shit. So after I got to know him a little bit, because we didn't really become roommates till we went to Europe. So we were on the bus and stuff going to where we were going, and I just said, man, and he was always making fun of me, man. Because I looked, I was in shape at that time too. I was 6'2", and I was a basketball player and all that. So it was like competition, but not musically. I never thought I was in class musically. We played a lot of basketball together, but that's another story.
Yeah, he was tall.
Yeah, he was tall. He was good too, actually. He was good. He was a good basketball player. But anyways, a couple gigs later, man, he comes back with a cassette tape of just Bird playing B flat Cherokee, B flat I Got Rhythm, B flat blues, just the solos. So it's just one Bird solo after another, and that is what really got me like going. Like I studied that tape, man. I studied that tape like like it was going out of style, So yeah, hey,
Chris Albert, when we were at camp with Phil Woods' Camp Rambler in 1967, we were the two guys that Chris really liked Chet Baker, and he liked Stan Getz, and some of the other cats were like, "Oh, those guys, they're kind of, we're not in fashion." And what I liked about Chris Albert is he liked what he liked, and he didn't care what was in fashion because he knew what was good. And
that's true, man. That's true.
And then Chris kind of taught me not to be. I was like a little almost embarrassed that I like those kind of things. So Chris was like your magnet into the world, into Charlie Parker in B flat.
Yeah. That was it, man. That was then I was in, Yeah.
And so he was that was like your real first road gig, was this Amos Baby?
Yeah, well, I was on the road with the chorus line too in Europe, but that the show gig, that's different. Like the Lionel Hampton bus is a different scene.
So Lionel Hampton, so you joined Lionel after?
Yeah, I got in 1987. I was 27. Yeah.
So that's when you went with that. And had you settled in New York yet?
Yeah. I had met a girl on chorus line. We settled. We got an apartment on the Upper East Side, and it was $600 for the two of us. Actually, she was already there, and so I was settled. I had a pad, and I was playing with Gates, and we used to go in and out. We 3 times a month we'd go out, come back, go out, come back, and then maybe one weekend we'd be off.
Was Randy Eckert on that band too?
No, he played on Illinois Sextet.
Were you on that band too at some point?
No, I tried. I called up Illinois after Gates. I got done with Gates, and he said he didn't want me because I had played with Gates.
He had a rivalry or something?
Yeah, they didn't want the trumpet players didn't play with either band. Yeah, or Basie too. Gates didn't want anybody to play with Basie, man. He wouldn't take any. He'd take you, but if you went with Basie after him, he'd be real mad. Yeah. That's
a very strange attitude, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they were. I mean, man, you were around those cats. The Eagles were, it's off the,
Yeah, I was sort of around them. I mean, I got to know Roy Eldridge, but just as I used to sit in with him and stuff. But I didn't really get to know the big band leaders very well. That surprises me that they would have that kind of attitude about it.
Oh yeah, no, I remember when one of our lead players went with Basie. Man, Gates was really mad. But I didn't miss a gig for 2 years. And then they were going to Japan. Long story short, I kind of got in the crosshairs of some real bull crap, and I asked for some more money to go to Japan. And
what kind of bull crap?
And he fired me. And it was just stupid on my part. And then so he fired me, and that was 2 years into it. They went to Japan. They come back. They did a few gigs.
This is Hamp who fired you. Lionel Hamp.
Yeah, Hamp. Oh no, Hamp told me. Yeah, he told me you're fired. Yeah. And because we were in Carroll Music, and we went out into the hallway and talked. And he said, okay. He said, okay, Gates, I got no problem, man. I get somebody for you, man. Don't worry, you're out. That's it. No problem, Gates. Like that. So he fired me, and so then when they came back, to be honest, man, I subbed on that band for another 7-8 years, man.
Whose band?
Same band. I'm saying I subbed.
You subbed with,
Yeah, yeah. After that, after they came back from Japan and they played a few gigs, I was on the band for a while, and then there wasn't gigs for about a month and a half, and so I just the next time I didn't go.
okay, wait,
So I was in and out. I was in and
this
out.
is whose band? This is Gates' band still?
Yeah, I mean, I still went to Europe with him 2 times after that. After he
So he
fired.
fired you and rehired you
Oh
several times.
yeah, no, I was. It was just about like $300 a week. That's what it was, man. That's why he kept me home. He didn't want to pay me $300 more a week. That's what it was.
Uh-huh.
So when he came home, I got back in the band basically. But it was better because I could miss gigs and there was no sweat. If I couldn't make the gig, he wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Like I was in another status, and he used to pay me for rehearsals. He'd give me $100 to make a rehearsal after I was out of the band. If I told it to the cats back then, they'd be so mad, man. But they, I had heard the stories. The stories were out there that used to do that, but he did it to me 3 or 4 times, making me about three or four times. I got $100. Yeah.
So now you were in New York, and you're making some sessions and stuff. And was Bill Hardman around?
Yeah, but I never really got to hang with Bill Hardman. My man at the time was Leo Mitchell.
Oh, I knew Leo very well.
He brought me into the New York thing, man. 1988, 1989, and then I also played with Jack McDuff starting in '88, and I got the gig in '89. I would say I was his regular guy starting in '89, somewhere in there. But I started playing with him in '88. That's why I
So that
didn't.
was like an organ trio with
Well,
trumpet.
no, it was an organ.
Saxophone.
No, it was a septet. He had
Oh,
four extra horn. He had 3 extra horn players, 4 altogether.
really?
And he loved to write, Jack, man. He was always trying to write some stuff, beautiful stuff. And he liked the horns, man. He dug it, man. Especially at Showman's. On the road, I only went on the road with him twice, maybe. One, I remember one for sure, and then there was another one too. It was like just in upstate New York. But we worked at Showman's a lot, man. We worked there sometimes twice a month, 4 nights a week. It was a gig. I mean, it was like I paid my rent on that gig.
With a 7-piece band.
7-piece band, $60, 3 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Man, I was running up there to do the gig, man. It was great.
Leo Mitchell. I loved Leo, man. And Leo in the days in the 70s, when we used to jam a lot, you could call Leo at any hour and he would show up. I mean, Mike Brecker had this loft that used to belong to Liebman, and there were no neighbors. So you could have sessions at all kinds of hours. So sometimes, we'd be starting a session at like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. When cats would come after their gig
Beautiful.
and play till the sun came up. We had those kind of nights. And it was like, well, I think Leo will do it. And he always did it. If he was available, which is almost always, he was there. And Chet loved him too. He was yeah, he's one of those people that was part of the fabric of New York. Like when you wondered why you lived here, you say, well, Leo Mitchell is one reason.
I have a funny story, man. One time we played during March at this place called Pat's Jazz Bar. Did you play there on 23rd Street?
No.
All right. So, anyways,
Where the Angry Squire used to be.
They're right around the corner. Oh no, Angry Squire is on 7th Avenue. This is right almost to 6th on 23rd. Okay. Now it's been ever since they closed. A furniture store bought it, a private furniture store, and it's still there. It's all blacked and everything because it's inside. There's a furniture factory or some shit. Huh. Anyways, so we're playing this gig, and it's me, him, and Jerry Weldon. And we're smoking a little weed out in front of the club. We're watching for cops. We're just sitting there, talking this shit. And it's March, which means it's March Madness, which means all these colleges are in town, and kids, from colleges in New York for 2 nights getting drunk and going wild. Right. So we're sitting in front of the club, and I see these cats coming crossing the 6th Avenue. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're like howling and stuff. And I'm thinking like, man, I wonder if they're gonna like try to fuck with us, you know what I mean? So they get like about 20 feet away and they look at us and they all like just walk straight ahead. They didn't say anything. And I thought to myself, wow, man, I'm in New York, man. This is New York. You know, like
You
these
scared them.
we scared them, man. And Leo never, he didn't even flinch. Leo didn't know, he didn't even know what was going on in my head. He's still talking his, he's smoking a cigarette, talking his shit, you know. It was this is in my head, you know what I mean? Like they were oblivious to the situation. I'm just thinking, like, man, I hope, you know, like, you know, it sure enough, I think, and I said to myself, wow, that's it, man. I'm here. This is
Yeah.
it. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was
You know. Yeah, but Leo was a bad dude, man. He really, you know, I knew it too when I played with him. I wasn't like ignorant to how great he was. I mean, I was appreciative, you know, because you know, like I hadn't played with Jimmy Woodworth yet, really, you know, so I didn't really know Woodworth's playing, but to play with Leo, that was something special, man. That was special, you know. Yeah,
yeah, he was like Wormworth, you know, they were not, they never overplayed.
never. It was all
But
about the music, man. All about the music.
you know, and Jimmy Lovelace played like
Another
that
one.
too. He was another one that there was a whole bunch of cats, you know, several cats that didn't.
Frank Gant was like that, man.
Yeah, Frank Gant
Yeah, yeah.
and
Billy Kay.
Billy Kay.
Yeah, Billy Kay.
He had moments like that.
Billy Kay, no, Billy Kay keeps
Billy
playing, man.
Kay and yeah, there were some yeah, some amazing cats. But so now you went with Jack McDuff. What about Toshiko? You did some stuff.
At the same time, that's how I got Toshiko's gig because Conrad Herwig and Herb Besson at the time were trombone players that played with Jack. You know, one of them would play with him, and they have both played on Toshiko's band. So when an opening came up on Toshiko's band, they recommended me. So I made a rehearsal, and after the rehearsal, Lou looked at me and he said, or he looked at John Eckert and he said, well, we got this gig in Kansas City Saturday night, so I guess we're cool. He looks at me and he looks at and Greg Gisbert the same day auditioned. And so we auditioned together. And he looked at both of us and he looked at John. He goes, I guess we're cool. And that was it. That was it. And then I went down to Mobile, Alabama. Actually, the gig was in Mobile, Alabama. And that was the first gig. Yeah. No, excuse me. That wasn't the first gig. That was where no, excuse me. Yeah, I subbed. I was a blind sub. I went to Mobile, Alabama. I was scared out of my, you know. Then they had a rehearsal, and then I went to the rehearsal and played a little bit. The gig in Mobile, I would just stayed out of the holes, man. I played very few notes, man. I just sat there. It was scary, man. Things fight. I mean, you know, the parts were all, you know, it was scary. And then the band was together, man. Those cats had played together a lot of them.
That's hard music. I mean, Toshiko's music is
Very hard. But you know what, man? She's coming from Bud Powell, man. She's really
oh yeah.
The phrasing and I think a lot of her frustration sometimes was because the cats didn't get that. They didn't you know what I mean? They didn't get the way that those phrases really had to sound. You know,
That's fascinating. That's very interesting.
yeah. No, she definitely wrote like Bud, man. You know, she wrote the way she played. You know, she
Yeah,
wrote the way she
you
played.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really happy that she did write the way she wrote and everything, but I think we lost a great piano player in her not emphasizing her piano playing a little more. That stuff she did with Charlie Mariano,
Sure.
stuff with the quartet,
Yeah, yeah.
it was really, you know, quite.
No, she played beautiful, man. I played a lot of gigs with her, man. You know, many gigs, hundreds and hundreds. And she played beautiful, man. She played beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she seems like she's a very beautiful person too. I don't know her.
No, yes. I mean, you know, I can't say enough great, beautiful things about Toshiko, man. She's, you know, just inspiring. She was always writing. And now that I'm older, and you know, my wife is from Osaka, and so I can really kind of look back and understand a lot of Toshiko's, you know, things that happen. You know.
It's ready.
Okay, I got it. Gotcha.
Osaka, the city where you eat till you drop.
That's right.
That's what they told me in
Yeah,
Japan. Boy, did we eat in Osaka. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
true.
yeah,
It was we made this restaurant in Osaka we ate at. They either grew or or cultivated any meat or fish that was there. Everything was homegrown, homemade. Absolutely one of the most incredible things. How did you meet your wife?
yeah.
Hiroko.
On a Jerry Weldon gig,
Uh-huh.
2006. But we didn't get together till 2012. Yeah,
So you met 6 years before you got together.
yeah. We played some gigs, not a lot of gigs, but some gigs. You know.
Your life moved so interestingly slowly. You know, well, then I was here for 3 years and I did this, you
No,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is nice. So you finally got together 6 years after you had you played a lot of gigs in between together
I
and
wouldn't say a lot of gigs, but yeah, somewhat gigs. But like right before we got together, we had started to play a bunch of gigs,
mm,
and I'm so happy that it went down the way it did. You know, yeah,
that's great. No children, right?
yeah, yeah. No, we met later, so yeah, yeah,
But you know, you grew up Catholic, and then you had the experience with the Baptist Church, being the choir director, where and a lot of cats, have had different spiritual leanings, spiritual direction. Where do you see yourself, in terms of like the big picture of how you feel about, what you want to say, creation, God, living life, any spiritual views, any disciplines that you've practiced, things that you started and don't do anymore, things that what's your spiritual life been like, if I may
yeah.
ask?
Well, I mean, I'm 1,000% believe that there's God. That's for sure. And yeah, just try to live by the golden rules, I guess. And but definitely, I believe in vibrations. I believe in you 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 control your own vibrations, and there's a thing in the universe that happens when you start to control your own vibrations. I feel that the universe will somehow come together, however long it takes, to put you where you need to be. Like one of my coaches used to tell me, the cream always comes to the top, which
Yeah,
means you don't know how you're going to get there, but eventually you get there. You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with just how easy your vibration is. Like some kids, when they're young, they just walk into it, and their vibration is great because some people, it's hard for them to get where they need to be because their vibration isn't right yet. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
so you need to and I think that may be an evolution of your soul. I'm not even sure how you know what I mean. There's a lot that goes into that, of course. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from, I guess, like that.
yeah. I kind of feel a lot like that too, like that we have a certain uh, destiny in a way, and that if we're sensitive to what life puts in front of us and make the decision, it's kind of up to us because there are things presented, and if you go with your intuition, I think we kind of follow this feeling of something larger than ourselves that leads us toward what you might say synchronicity or serendipity. We meet who we're supposed to meet, and that God, quote, whatever that is sort of manifested in our relations with other people. Who we
Definitely,
meet
definitely. Yeah,
and
yeah,
how
yeah,
we're affected.
yeah, yeah.
Like you meet Bird through Chris Albert, so Chris is like an angel that that sent Bird to you. And
Exactly, man. And as the older I get, I realize that's what really life is about, man. Just like trying to have my friends see how great they are. Like if I can help them see that, great.
Yeah,
Like I love that. I love that feeling. Like man, don't be down on yourself, man. You're cool, man.
well, my friend Tony Castellano used to say, we have angelic natures, and the world does everything it can to take that away from you,
Everything,
get you to go far away from your
everything.
angelic nature, and then
Yep.
you try to get it back. Usually we fall off, and then we spend our time trying to find our angelic nature again and live with it and grow according to that.
Bro,
You know,
that's so true what you just said, man. That's so true, man. That's the truth right there, man. That's the truth. It's inside of us. We get away from it, but you can't hide from it. It's there.
yeah,
You know.
and
It comes that we're sensitive to it because the way we play music. It's similar to how you blow through the horn, really.
right.
That's a vibration too. You know.
Our way of bringing us closer to whatever this truth is that we're.
Yeah. I think the music brings you there, man. I know in my life, I think that definitely the study of music, Bird, Louis Armstrong, all the cats brought truth into my life. I really believe that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Brought, really, and also too, being on the road with cats and really heavy cats and seeing how they act and how serious they are about life and music and realize, oh man, okay, maybe I needed to learn some valuable lessons about life, in my time. You know what I mean? And then, it's good.
Yeah, and those people come along and seem to teach you what you need to know at the time you need to know it,
Yeah,
and
exactly. Still
that's
doing
the
it.
miracle, and that's as far as I could define God,
Yeah,
or whatever that is. That's
yeah,
through these other people, we come upon this. So, you've had other, other relationships in your life, like you and Jerry Weldon go
yeah.
back a long time.
Long time.
We have these long relationships with people
Yeah,
as well. Some are mentors, some are students, some are whatever the nature of the relationship is. I met you through Grant Stewart,
right.
and I kind of served as a kind of mentor to Grant. And the very first time I heard you, that was who you were. I think it was on a record with Grant.
Yeah, yeah. His first record. Yeah, yeah.
I heard you on his first record. That's right. And you know, and also we might mention that you're also teaching. Grant has a school that he's
Yes,
running in Tribeca called the Tribeca Jazz Institute. Is it called?
yes.
And Joe is teaching for Grant. I'm also teaching some classes. Grant has arranged that since I don't go out, the students come over to me,
Beautiful,
and as long as
beautiful,
they're vaccinated, I can teach.
beautiful,
And,
beautiful,
so
beautiful.
that's good, And you also are teaching at Juilliard,
Yeah, I've been at Juilliard for like 13 years.
really. And do you teach trumpet or ensembles or both, or what do you?
No, I teach private lessons only.
Private lessons only.
Because I can't really get involved in ensembles because of the road, and because ensembles you got to be there every week. So I
Right.
try any school that I teach, I try to stay away from ensembles.
Well, I
But
taught ensembles when I lived in Canada, but I had certain subs, cats that would sub
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
knew what I was working on with the students. And so when I'd go to Europe or something, I'd get somebody in there for, part of the semester.
Yeah,
But,
so yeah, yeah, no, it can be a good thing, but it's tough with the schedule and stuff.
and the other thing was the, oh yes, I wanted to mention that, Joe has recorded, what have you got, like about 14 records as a leader now? Like quite a few.
I think a few more than that, but yeah, it's been a few, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
what?
yeah, you feel comfortable in the studio and uh,
I feel like as time goes on, I'm getting closer to my goal. I guess I want to say, like I actually did something yesterday, and I feel like there were moments when I felt comfortable, and that's all I could ask for in the studio is feeling comfortable, like feeling relaxed, and you know. But it's tough to get to for me because it involves my chops. It involves how well it's involves so many things that are involved for me to get to that place that I feel comfortable. But yesterday, I felt like over years and years of doing it, especially this past year, I feel like I'm just more tuned into some mechanics of the trumpet, and I try to do it every day. And I'm finding that that really helps, man. Like just having the mechanics there. Not that I'm all of a sudden this great trumpet player, like a better than I was, but it's more like it helps me gain control of what I can play in it easier, so it can come out easier. It's not like all of a sudden I'm playing all this stuff. No, it's not like that. It's just that what I can play, it feels better. So I feel like I can be more creative with it. And I felt like that yesterday for, a few moments, which was, I'm thinking like, okay, there's hope.
Yesterday you were in the studio?
Yeah, I was in the studio yesterday. Yeah. And it was out of Van Gelder. So that's like the Mecca, man. That it's the Mecca, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, well, that's where
Every record, man. It's it.
took place, and you got Don Sickler and Maureen over there who
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
they're doing, and
Exactly. Maureen's so cool, man.
they're terrific, people, and
We played this one too as a sextet, and we played this one too, and it was it was flute, clarinet, and flugelhorn. So we played a take, and it takes over, and Maureen gets on the thing, and she goes, "Tune up." And she said it twice, man. She did, about 30 seconds later, she did it again because we were talking, and she goes, "Just tune up."
Yeah, they hear these things, these engineers.
It was great, man.
That was Virginia and
Yeah, Virginia and Oates.
oh, Oates, yes.
Yeah. And Neil Swainson?
Very well. I lived in Toronto.
Yeah, he's a good bass player, man. Wow.
Yeah, so
And my friend, this guy I play with Europe all the time, Oliver Kent, beautiful piano player from Vienna. He was in town. He did it. We played many gigs together on the road.
This is your record, or
no? It's Oates' record. We did one of the things I did when I was out, like you say, was with Oates and Gary. So Bernd wanted to do a record, instead of with Gary, but with Virginia, because I don't know if Oates, I don't know how that came about. I don't really know how the situation, but
yeah.
But the drummer Bernd Reiter, who produced it, he had already done a couple of records with Gary and situations, so I think he wanted to switch it up a little bit, So, but it's for Corey Weeds, for Corey Weeds' thing. Yeah.
Right, for the
yeah.
Cellar Jazz.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, Corey's really making a great contribution, and
Corey is the greatest. Yeah, talk about saints, man. It's Corey Weeds, man. Yeah, what a saint.
Yeah, he does do. I'll be getting my Walter Davis record out too. And there is a book also I want to mention that Joe tells me he doesn't really know the book that well, but it's a compilation of Joe's solos from different records that he's done, and it's called The Artistry and Language of Joe Magnarelli, and that's published by Q Press, I believe. Is that right?
Colon Production, Publishers.
Colon Production.
Yeah, Colon.
Like Charles Colon.
Charles Colon.
Yeah. And that sounds really good. And it's great, Joe. You're hitting your stride, hitting your prime. You're playing beautifully. You deserve all the success in the world. It's been a real great pleasure to talk to you and to get to talk in a way we haven't really ever really gotten to chat before. We've played more on the bandstand than we've talked, I think.
Yeah, I just want to say, to whoever's listening that, my time, those few times we played together, maybe 6, 7 times, were some of the greatest musical experiences, Bob. You played so great and so inspiring, man, to me to hear you in that context when you were just blowing, man. Long solos, man, great. And we talked. When you weren't there the next week, we would talk about you after the gig. Like, man, it's I don't want but here we are after the gig talking about your gig last week.
Well, I listened to something that we did a few years ago that I had a tape of, and you sound really good. And I had 2 words for me: tune up.
No, that's part of the charm, man.
Part of it. There ain't no charm in playing. The good news is the second tune is a little better. The first tune, I don't know. Man, I didn't know if I was sharp or flat, but it definitely wasn't there. But you live and learn. And
Oh, bro. Hey, bro, you're talking to the king of that right here, bro. So don't worry about it. I'm the king.
well,
That first tune, like Roy Eldridge says, don't ever come to the first set.
yeah, yeah. Oh, speaking of Roy Eldridge, man, there's a solo also that you probably know. But I mean, if anybody that's that plays any instrument, if you want to know what jazz is on the most basic, beautiful level possible, there's a Chu Berry record of Body and Soul, and I think it's recorded a little before Hawk's record of it, which is interesting. And Chu Berry plays some nice stuff on it. It's very worth hearing. But the pièce de résistance, tour de force on it, is when Chu plays the first chorus in regular tempo. Roy comes in with a double time chorus on Body and Soul. That's like up there with like Louis Armstrong's Strutting with Some Barbecue,
Wow.
Charlie Parker's Just Friends. You know, if you wanted to say for me, you know, Bud Powell's T for Two. You know what I mean? There's like 5 or 10 solos that are you might call desert island worthy.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's your top 3 Bud solos? Bud, you know, Bud tunes or whatever, you know, that he recorded.
Well, I mean, it's hard to pick them, but I would say there's that version of T for Two, which never runs out of energy. Every time you think he's
53 or something, like somewhere in 53. Like
yeah, it's the trio record. I think it's George Duvivier.
live.
No, not live. It's a studio. It's a Verb record.
Okay. I'll check
Studio.
it. Okay,
There's
good.
also a great live record of it. I'll Keep Loving You is also such a beautiful tune. And I hope to get this record that I did with Isaac Raz and I. Isaac arranged strings and woodwinds for me. I know you made a record with strings, didn't you?
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah.
Oh, that must have been beautiful. I got to hear that. I got to check out your recorded work more. Who did your charts?
Marty Scheller, who has passed a couple years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Great trumpet player, played with Mongo Santa Maria back in the 60s.
Oh.
And I know you know some of his work. You know Woody's version of Beat, we will be together again.
We'll be together again.
With the strings.
Woody Shaw's version?
Yeah, he's got 2 cellos and 2 violas.
Oh, I never heard Woody with strings.
Oh, yeah. It was one.
We were friends. We used to play together. He used to stay with me. And I knew him actually in those days of Amos when I met KD. Woody was with Blakey in those days, so he would come by because Bill was always there too. And I heard Woody and Kenny together. Together, and it was beautiful. And
there's a bootleg floating around of them playing together with Blue Mitchell too, and I think Bill Hardman.
Yeah, Bill was around there sometimes, and I think But anyway, 3 Bud records. I would say the T for Two, the I'll Keep Loving You, and then there's so many. There's like I just think that the fruit, which that is not the fruit. Walter Davis Jr. told me that Bud told him that the name of it is not the fruit, it's the froof.
Really?
Yeah, and a froof is a fancy person, like with one of those like ruffled shirts. You're froofy. You're dressed very froofy. They use that expression.
No kidding. Wow.
Be froofy, and you can hear there's a lot of ornamentation in the melody.
Right.
It's a very kind of ornamented type of melody.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with fruits that you eat or homosexuality or anything. It had to do with being froofy. That was what Walter Davis Jr. told me about it.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
And,
interesting.
And then there's just too many tunes. Tempest Fusion. So many wonderful things. But if I had to pick 3, I would say the froof for the intricacy of a melody, doody da ba doody da 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 dee da da doody da doody da 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 dee da 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 doody da 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 dee ba da da. I can't sing anymore because of my operation. But you know that
That was good, man. That was good. That was
you know,
good.
T for two for the sheer energy of it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I'll keep loving you for the sheer beauty of it and the darkness of the bridge, the passion when he hits da 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 dee da da dee.
Yeah,
Isaac has done
yeah,
a
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
arrangement with the strings, but
yeah.
that to me, for sheer passion, you know,
Yeah.
that's for that because the aspects, you know, what made Bud. I've studied a lot of Bud, man, and I would say Bud influenced me as much as Bird did. And as far as stealing shit, I probably stole as much from Bud as I did from Bird.
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Yeah.
You know, because you know what Rollins told me once. Sonny said, and this is a fascinating thing that you dig. That Sonny
Excuse
said
me.
that he felt that we were talking about Jimmy Lyons, the alto player who played with Cecil Taylor, and I told Sonny that I had gotten into a duet with Jimmy one day in our repair shop, and we really had a good time playing. It sounded like two Bird playing outside. The two of us were really taking it somewhere, and we had a very good connection. And I liked Jimmy; he was a really nice person. And Sonny said he had liked him too, and that what happened, he actually made Cecil Taylor make sense to him. He said because he really couldn't really get into Cecil, but Jimmy was the bridge that did that. And
Oh,
then
wow.
Sonny, then Sonny, in his own unique genius way, says, and that gave me the thought that saxophone players are often translators of pianists.
Yeah,
He said Don Byas, Coleman Hawkins
yeah,
were translating Tatum, as was Bird, and then Bird added Bud and Monk to
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah, yeah.
translation, and that Sonny was translating Bud and Monk, as were and I thought that was interesting, and he said I was doing that in a way with people that I was playing with, like Albert Daly, and Kenny Barron, and the people that I got to that my generation got to play with. So that in a way, translating Bud. What are your three favorites? You got three of yours?
Well, I like Tempest Fugit. I like Nice Work If You Can Get It.
Oh yeah, that's
The second chorus, man, he plays some rhythmic stuff that's very deep. I mean, very advanced. I mean, it's incredible. I would
yeah.
say, um, Last Time I Saw Paris,
Oh yeah.
another one I love. Just the bounce in there. Oh, I love Oblivion solo, man. That's a great
Oh, of
record.
course, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I mean. We just could go on and on with that.
yeah. But those are my favorites. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Another record by KD while we're on it too that I love that we didn't mention that really affected me very deeply was Afro-Cuban.
Oh, baby, yeah.
That with Bonita's Dance.
Beautiful. I love it. It's my favorite tune.
Really?
That's
Oh
one in A minor, right? The
yeah.
second tune. I love
Da
that.
da da da
That's
dee
good.
da 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 dee da 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 dee do da do da 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 dee do dee.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Oh,
I love that whole record, man.
you got to come over. We got to play that too together.
Sure. I love to, man. I love to.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's try to do some playing together. Put on the tapes. Maybe we'll make a record in my house.
All right. Hey, man. Yeah, I heard you have a nice pad out downtown, huh?
Yeah, it's nice. You got to come over. It's really beautiful
Beautiful.
view of
Good
the
for you.
river.
Good for you, man. Good, good.
Well, I want to thank Joe, and I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show. It's been a wonderful time. Great guy, great musician. It's been an honor to have you, Joe.
Thanks.
Uh, every time I played with you too, it was. I go, gee, I didn't realize this guy played that great.
That's so
I
nice, man.
say,
Thank you so much, man.
you know, I almost took you for granted a couple of times. I said, yeah, Joe Magnarelli. And I said, oh, Joe Magnarelli. You know?
Thank you, man. Thank you. Well, I probably deserved that before too. But I know you play with Chet and Kenny Dorham and all the cats, man. So I mean, I totally, whatever you say is gold, baby.
Oh, no, I learned from you too. And anyway, man, thank you, and I thank everybody. I want to remind you, we now actually are really have upped our subscribers, and we're very near 2,000 subscribers now.
Wow.
And I want to remind people that are watching that though it doesn't seem like much to just give us a like and to subscribe, doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and it means a lot to us. It keeps us going, and we really do appreciate knowing that you're getting something from us through your subscribing. So I just hit the subscribe button or whatever it is, and we appreciate that. And thanks to Jessie Kaiser, and her prayers are with us.
Yeah, man.
She
Yes.
won't have to evacuate, and this nightmare of what's going on in LA will come to some kind of conclusion that she won't suffer. Jessie, thank you for all you do for us, and Jessie is really the reason that these shows fly the way they do. Thank you again, Joe Magnarelli.
Thank you. Pleasure, Bob. Yeah.
Good night, everybody, and God bless you all. And we'll see you soon again on the real side.